Hello and welcome to my top 10 horror movie characters of all time. Putting this list together was a lot harder than I anticipated. I had a pretty long list before I could even rank the top 10, so before we begin, I'm just going to list out all my honorable mentions. All these characters I love, even if they didn't make a top 10, so they're just awesome and I could say a lot about them, but I'm just going to list them rapid fire and let's just say they are all 10 out of 10 horror characters and rankings suck, but here we go. Honorable mentions are Ripley, Laurie Strode, Sidney Prescott, Sam from Trick or Treat, Pinhead from Hellraiser, Black Phillip from The Witch, Hannibal Lecter, Count Orlok / Nosferatu from Nosferatu, The Mummy, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Jack Torrance, Danny Torrance, Dick Hallorann, and Freddy Krueger. No! I know. The Freddy fans are going to murder me in my sleep tonight because I did not put him in the top 3 or top 5 or even my top 10, but my case here is he just doesn't strike a chord with me like he does with a lot of horror fans. He's charismatic as hell, and I love Robert Englund for embodying such a sinister character that is a horror icon. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street series, but he just doesn't land super high as a character for me personally. I don't have much to say critically on Freddy Krueger, but like I said, most of this list just comes down to personal preference. I know that there are a ton more characters I love, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. Also, what the heck, this video was about the top 10, so here we go, top 10. Number 10 is Jigsaw / John Kramer from the Saw series. The Saw series holds a special place in my heart because it's one of the first horror movie series that was a gateway for me getting hardcore into horror movies, and I love the psyche of John Kramer / Jigsaw. Jigsaw is the perfect nickname for this character because of his brain power. Most horror villains tend to be on the supernatural, super strong, or super maniacal side, while John Kramer finds creative ways to trap people who have done a lot of wrong to others or even themselves and gives them a chance at redemption. A truly twisted chance at redemption, but that's what's fascinating about him. He takes the whole cherish your life message and turns it up to extreme levels, and that brings something a little different to the table besides the typical slasher villain or killer. Number 9. Norman Bates. If you have any empathy in your bones, Norman Bates is a character that can make you have some empathy for. A friendly, good-natured motel owner with some major mommy issues. The reason I put him in my top 10 is because while Norman does do some messed up stuff, he's one of the very few horror villains that actually wants to be better and live a better life. And based on the Psycho sequels, there's a lot of events that prevent that from happening. That's a big reason Norman fascinates me as a character. The show Bates Motel also did a good job at exploring themes like this, besides that awful ending. Number 8. Leatherface. Leatherface is one of these iconic horror villains that I don't consider to be a true villain. He does some horrible acts, don't get me wrong, but like Norman Bates, he didn't have a great upbringing and was brainwashed by his family mostly. He just happened to have the size to scare and eliminate anyone in his way. While I only care about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2, this is a character that left a giant impact on horror fans and scared them to no end. Just the final shot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Leatherface spinning around with the chainsaw is awesome. Also, it was a huge plus for me that they added him as a character in Mortal Kombat X. Number 7, Dracula. Let me preface this because there have been a ton of renditions of Dracula. I will add Christopher Lee's Dracula as another in the honorable mentions. My favorite Dracula, though, is the OG Bela Lugosi. He played Dracula once, and he was buried in his Dracula cape after he died. And this is Bela Lugosi's legacy. When I think of what Dracula looks like, I think Bela Lugosi immediately. While Lugosi's English wasn't super great at the time he played Dracula, that was what brought such a wonderful charm to the character. It will always stand out even for those who don't care for that version of Dracula. Lugosi laid a foundation to the immortal being and himself became immortalized from it. Number 6, Herbert West. This is definitely not a popular pick when people think of the best horror characters, but when Reanimator is one of your favorite horror pictures, you're gonna think of Herbert West, an ambitious medical student that creates a serum that brings dead people back to life. What I love about Herbert is the classic mad scientist gimmick. How far will he go to master his creation? Most of the Reanimator series consists of Herbert trying to perfect his medical miracle in his eyes, while it is a medical disaster to everyone else. Jeffrey Combs, who is a truly unique actor, is what makes this quirky character so memorable. Herbert truly doesn't care what anyone thinks of him. He's selfish, socially awkward, and will leave a bloodbath in his wake to get his way. He's not a crazy killer, which is funny because the goal he is actually trying to conquer death. I would just suggest staying far away from Herbert because he may reanimate your corpse just to have something worse happen to you in hilarious fashion. Number 5, Frankenstein's monster. Now, the character of the monster would not be complete without mentioning the amazing and iconic performance of Boris Karloff. Once again, a horror villain who I wouldn't consider truly evil, very much a sympathetic monster. You try coming back to life from pieces of other humans, get shoved out into the world, and not do some questionable things. Of course the world is going to hate you. The poor monster can't catch a break. He befriends a girl by noticing when she throws dandelions in the water, they float. He thinks she'll float. Nope, she drowned, and the town is going to kill you for it. He befriends a blind man who just wanted a friend. People break into the blind man's home, take it over, and try to kill the monster. Life isn't easy for the Frankenstein's monster. I love this character because it perfectly portrays just with how someone looks and acts, immediately others make you out to be a villain. Of course, like the monster, you're going to get mad and not be thrilled about life because you've been wronged so much. I can't help but sympathize with the monster, and humans are overrated anyways. Number 4, the Crypt Keeper. I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't love the Crypt Keeper? He's always doing funny things in his crypt at the beginning of every Tales from the Crypt episode. The reason I love him is he's so funny and charming. While he seems to do some sinister things, you never actually see him do these things on screen. This is one of those characters that I love so much that I want my afterlife to be me living in the Crypt Keeper's house, and once a week, a number of ghosts or whoever want to visit while I read them a creepy story from one of those old books you see every episode of Tales from the Crypt. No, I don't even dream of heaven after I die. I dream of the Crypt Keeper's house and living in it after I die. I'm a weirdo, but the aesthetic of the Crypt Keeper is just amazing to me. John Kassir made such an iconic voice in the Crypt Keeper, and honestly, the Crypt Keeper should just host every horror anthology ever. Number 3, Michael Myers. Halloween 1978 is one of my favorite horror films ever, and Michael Myers is such a memorable character for being such a blank slate. He just goes out and kills people with no rhyme or reason. That's absolutely terrifying the more you think about it. Some don't care for him because of his lack of personality, but that, of course, is what I love about him. There's just a great unknown about the character until later in the series where the answers aren't that interesting. At the core, though, it's such a cool concept of a character. He is just a giant question mark that kills. Number 2, Ash Williams. Ash Williams is one of the most unique horror protagonists probably ever. He's funny, relatable, and gets his ass kicked, but at the same time also kicks so much ass in the process. I think why he's so appealing is because he does some extraordinary things while you feel like you yourself could do these things. He's hilarious, mostly a static character, yet evolves and adapts to any situation. This sounds ridiculous, but he's one of those characters that I feel like he could have defeated Thanos. If Iron Man didn't sacrifice himself to defeat Thanos in Avengers Endgame, I would have been totally okay with Ash popping up, taking a chainsaw to Thanos' chest, and then shooting him in the face with his boomstick for the finishing blow. Then proceed to turn around toward the rest of the Avengers army and throw out a one-liner like, "You screwheads needed superpowers for this?" I'm getting off topic, sorry. Point is, he's so fun, and you could probably throw him into any horror movie and it would automatically make it better. That's how much I love Ash Williams. So at that point, you're thinking, what could be number 1? Really, it's a toss-up, but number 1 pick for a favorite horror movie character is Jason Voorhees. Yeah, it is a pretty basic pick, but sometimes a big badass dude in a hockey mask just happens to do it for you. Ever been bullied in your life? Boom, Jason Voorhees you can get behind. Teenagers can be annoying, ignorant little jerks sometimes? Boom, Jason Voorhees you can get behind. You want a killer that can literally punch someone's head off? Boom, Jason Voorhees you can get behind. A killer that gets resurrected by a freaking lightning bolt? Boom, Jason Voorhees you can get behind. He's pretty much Michael Myers on steroids, and even though he's a mute, his physicality is a huge part of his personality. This is mostly thanks to Kane Hodder in the later movies. Kane Hodder as Jason has a body language that just screams anger. Every time I watch a Friday the 13th movie, I can't help but love Jason and cheer him on. Also, like Leatherface, Jason being a playable character in Mortal Kombat X only elevates him. He hits personally for me as a character, plus, while I'm not a mute like Jason, I'm really not much of a talker. Me talking in this video is the most I'll talk for the next month, so a silent killer is one I enjoy. Maybe that's why I'm not a super Freddy fan. Sorry, Freddy fans. No! You know, I was ecstatic at the end of Freddy vs. Jason when Jason popped out of the water holding Freddy's head. I know people say that it was a tie, but in my mind, Jason won that battle. Anyways, I just love everything about Jason. While I explain some of why I think he's the best horror movie character, it just comes down to personal preference at the end of the day, and I just happen to like Jason the most. So, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope you enjoyed my top 10 horror characters of all time. I'm sure you have a list, so definitely leave it in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in a future video. Bye!